to work with 500 grams of flour, then 300 grams of sugar, then 500 grams of margarine. So I'll be using Tarona margarine. Then 500 grams of egg. So if you're using the medium-sized egg, you're meant to use 8, but we're going to measure though. If you're using the large-sized egg, you're going to use 7. So you will have to say either 7 or 8 for egg, 500 grams of egg. Then 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Yeah, then 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Then half cup of milk. So we have the flour, we have the sugar, we have the egg, the margarine, the baking powder, then the flavor and the milk, right? So it's time for us to start off. So when you see BP, it's baking powder. So I'm using single acting baking powder. I'm using first class. I'm going to measure out my margarine, so I'm using digital scale. But if you're using analog scale, you know there's a difference between the digital scale and the analog scale. So you know, for this type of scale, it's called the analog scale, the spring scale. We'll count in 50s and measure in grams or kilograms. I'll still be using this one, but for the next recipe, but for now, I'll be using the digital scale to measure out my margarine. So first of all, you place your plate on top of the scale. Then you measure out your margarine. I'm going to pre-mix the margarine. I'm going to pre-mix it for like 2 minutes before I'll start adding my sugar. So I'm using the balloon whisk. to premix the margarine. So the next thing I'm meant to do, I'm going to sieve my sugar. You know, earlier I said something about the caster sugar. I always sieve my sugar whenever I want to bake my Supermoist cake. The reason is I always want my Supermoist vanilla cake to be soft and very moist. So I'll have to sieve the sugar. So the one that comes out from the sieve is like my homemade caster sugar. Then the one that rests on the sieve is called the coax sugar. So I don't need it. Maybe if I want to bake fruit cake, I can use it all for my maybe donut sprinkling and all that. So we're going to sieve our sugar. So if your recipe calls for like 300 grams of sugar, you need to measure out like 700 grams, then sieve. So you sieve out the 300 grams you need. So I'm using low speed to premix. So I need to sieve out 300 grams of sugar. I know a lot of people will be surprised because you don't do this, but this is the secret. If you want very soft vanilla cake, you need to sieve your sugar. So now I have 300 grams. So this one, I'm not supposed to dispose it. It's either you tie it back or maybe you pulverize it. What I mean, put it in your blender, then blend it a little bit so you get a finer texture. I need the paper. So now I'm going to add the sugar. Then I'm going to add the flavors. So now I'm using just my Madagascar vanilla. This is vanilla extract, Austin and Marcel brand. So I'm going to use 2 teaspoons. So if you're using flavor essence, you can use 4 teaspoons. Most of us bake with preservatives. So if you have your preservative, maybe the calcium propionate, for me I add it at this stage. So everything will have to blend together. I don't add it to my flour, I add it here. So now I'm creaming my margarine and sugar together with the flavor. So now I'm going to pack my eggs. So let's measure the eggs. I use the analog scale. A lot of people don't know how to use this scale, but whenever you want to weigh your eggs, this is the most accurate scale to use, and you have to measure with shell. So like I told you earlier, you count in 50s and you measure in grams and kgs. So for this scale, we are not making use of the black numbers, that's LBS. What I'm making use of is the red numbers, so that is grams and kilograms. So maybe if you see yourself, you want to go to the market to buy chicken, and you know a lot of us fall victims. They cheat us a lot, especially when you don't know how to use the scale. They might just tell you that 1 kg is this black one. no, in Nigeria, we're not supposed to use this black one. It's the red one. You must make sure that the arrow is on this red number 1. So for now, I'm looking out for, I want to weigh 500 grams of egg. So this arrow should be in between as in 0 and 1. That's the center, the thick line. That's half kg. I got 9. So that means this size of egg is the small one. So it gave me 9. 9 is giving me 500 grams. So now you can write 7 large, 8 medium stroke, 9 small, depending. And set baking this cake, first of all, the first thing you do is to sieve your flour. But already we've done that, so whatever you're going to see here, just bear in mind that we sieved our flour. But if you're doing this, first of all, you sieve your flour and baking powder into a clean bowl and set aside. But for us here, we sieve our flour, so it's just to measure out and add our baking powder, sieving our baking powder. I'm going to put up the mixer, then scrape the sides of my mixer bowl. And I'll continue. Out my half cup of milk. So I'm using Hollandia milk. So this is the full cream. So if you also see Hollandia low fat, if you don't like the full cream, you can use the Hollandia low fat, the 1.5. This is the full cream. It's called DST milk, whole milk. Also, I'm going to teach you how to also convert Hollandia powdered milk to whole milk in case you don't have money to buy this big one. So my half cup of milk, I'm setting it aside. Out with your measuring spoon, you need to level it. It's not heat. Level, so 2 level teaspoons of baking powder. I'm using it. So it's time for us to, so how do you know that your margarine and sugar is okay for you to start adding your eggs and flour? By the time you're creaming and you notice that the color has changed or that the margarine can fall off easily from your spatula, that is when you can now add other ingredients. So the color has changed and it has doubled in size. So we are going to start adding our eggs and dry ingredients. So for my Supermoist vanilla, I always alternate. I'll start with flour and end with flour as well. So I'm going to add flour first. Then I'll add these 2 eggs. Then I'll mix. So now I'm going to reduce the speed, so I don't overwork the gluten like in the flour. Then together with the milk. So I'll try and scrape the sides of the bowl. Then finally I'll add the remaining flour. Then I'll pour in my milk. Ready. I had to line the base and the sides of the pan. I'm using a foreign pan. So now my cake batter is ready. I'll have to use my spatula to turn it. So when you're turning, try as possible to do it this way, as if you're folding it. Our cake batter is ready. So we'll now have to scoop it into the baking tin or baking pan. And you have to spread it. So for bakers, whenever you want to bake a vanilla cake that you want to cover with fondant, this is the ideal cake recipe for you to use. It's not too fluffy, it's just moist and soft. So if you're not a baker and you want to bake this, it's very simple, very easy for you to bake. Just get the ingredients, try out this recipe and bake. You will still get the same texture. So now I'm going to spread. So next thing I'll do is to tap my pan to remove the air bubbles on a hard surface. Then already, when I started preheating the oven, we used the lowest temperature. So now we're going to take in the pans into the oven. So this is all about the Supermoist vanilla cake recipe. So we are done with this one. The first recipe, we're are done with it. So